The ramp drops, and the world turns to noise. One wall of it, mechanical, tearing, so fast the rounds blur into a single unbroken scream. The man in front of you is standing, then he isn't, and you are still upright only because you have not moved yet. 12 seconds. That's about how long the front rank of a boat like yours survives on this stretch of sand. And the question that decides whether you get a 13th is not the one screaming in your skull right now. You think the beach is what kills you. You are wrong about what does. But to understand how you came to be standing here, inside a steel box, 60 pounds of gear strapped to your body, staring straight into what the men have started calling Hitler's buzzsaw, you have to go back a few hours to the cold and the dark, to the moment the ramp was still up and you still believed your boots would touch dry sand. It is June 6th, 1944. You are a rifleman in the 1st Assault Wave, 116th Infantry Regiment, 29th Infantry Division. The patch on your shoulder reads blue and gray, and most of the men crammed in around you come from the same small towns in Virginia. One company, Company A, is drawn from a single place, a town called Bedford. Boys who grew up on the same streets, enlisted on the same day. Within the hour, many of them will die within sight of one another, and Bedford will lose more of its sons for its size than any town in America. You don't know that yet. Right now, they are just the faces beside you in the gray light. The coast waiting ahead of you has a name on the invasion maps. Omaha, one of 5 beaches, the widest, the most heavily fortified, the one the entire landing may live or die on. This is Operation Overlord, the largest seaborne invasion ever attempted, and you are riding in the very point of its spear. Your piece of the sand has a code name of its own. Dog Green. Hold on to it. In a few minutes it will become one of the deadliest few hundred yards on the face of the earth. Now go back a little further. 3 in the morning. You are climbing down a cargo net slung over the side of a troop ship, feeling for each rung with your boots while the swell heaves the landing craft below you up and away and back again. Miss the timing and the sea takes you between the hulls. You drop the last few feet into the boat, a Higgins boat, 36 feet of plywood and a steel ramp, flat bottom so it can run right up onto a beach, 30 men, and an ocean that wants all of them. The crossing is its own kind of hell, and it comes before a single shot is fired. 11 miles of open channel in the dark. The boat doesn't cut the water, it slaps it, drops off the back of each wave and hammers into the next. Spray coming over the gunwale in sheets so cold it stops your breath. Within the first hour, almost everyone is seasick. You vomit until there is nothing left. Then you vomit bile. Then you dry heave against the man beside you who is doing the same. Your feet stand in a rising slurry of seawater and sick that the little pump can't keep up with. You are soaked through. You are shaking, and you are carrying your whole world on your back. Count it. Rifle, bandoliers of ammunition, grenades, entrenching tool, canteen, rations, first aid pouch, gas mask, bayonet, a life belt around your waist you've been told will keep you afloat. 60, maybe 70 pounds of it, lashed and buckled tight to a body that hasn't been dry or still in hours. Remember that weight. It matters more than the rifle. It is going to decide who lives. Somewhere against your chest, wrapped and re-wrapped to keep the water out, there is a photograph, a face from home. You checked it in the dark before you climbed down the net, and you're not going to let yourself check it again. Around you, in the pitching gloom, Men do small human things. One works a rosary through wet fingers. One is very still, eyes shut, lips moving. One keeps racking and re-racking the bolt of his rifle for something to do with his hands. At the back of the boat, the coxswain fights the wheel, watching the line of surf ahead, counting down the yards. Nobody says much. There is nothing left to say. There is only the ramp, and what is behind it, coming closer with every wave. Above you, the sky splits open. The naval bombardment, battleships miles out throwing shells the size of small cars over your head, each one a freight train tearing the air apart, slamming into the bluffs ahead in flashes that light the whole coastline. You watch the shore erupt, and you let yourself believe it. Nothing could live through that. They have flattened it. You will walk in. That is the promise. Hold on to the promise, because it is about to break. Most of those shells fall long, past the defenders, harmlessly inland. The German guns on the high ground are barely scratched, and they are waiting for the ramp to drop. There it is again, the ramp. It slams down into the surf and the machine guns find you before the front rank can take a single step. This is the MG-42, 1,200 rounds a minute, so fast the ear can't separate the shots. So fast it sounds less like a gun than like fabric tearing in the hands of God. And it is not one gun. The Germans have built their strong points, wider stands Nestor, resistance nests, into the high ground on either side of your draw, sighted so their fields of fire cross, interlocking. Every inch of the sand in front of you is covered by more than one weapon. You have landed on the exact spot they spent 2 years preparing to kill. The intelligence was wrong too. They told you the defenders were a thin, second-rate garrison. They are not. Facing you is the German 352nd Infantry Division, a full-strength, combat-ready formation nobody expected to be here. More men, more guns, dug in and ready. So you go over the side. And here's the thing no one drilled into you. Here is what the question has been circling since the ramp first fell. You have been bracing to be shot on the sand, to make a run across the open and take your chances with the bullets. But most of the men who die in these first minutes never reach the sand at all. The boat has grounded on a sandbar, and beyond it the bottom drops away. You step off the ramp expecting knee-deep water, and you go in over your head. And now the 60 pounds is not your armor. It is an anchor. It drags you straight down into gray-green water, boots first, and you are under the surface with the full weight of your gear pulling you toward the bottom of the English Channel, while the water above you stitches white with bullets. The life belt, worn too low, flips some men onto their backs and holds them there. All around you, in the murk, men are drowning, not shot, drowning, pinned beneath the very equipment that was supposed to keep them alive. You have one choice and about 4 seconds to make it. The rifle, the pack. Cut it loose or die with it. Your hands claw at the buckles. You let your whole world sink so that you don't sink with it. You break the surface gasping, lighter, alive, and the water around you is not the color water should be. You half swim, half drag yourself toward the shore, through a forest of steel. These are the obstacles. Hedgehogs, great crossed girders welded into iron stars to gut the hull of any landing craft that runs onto them. Belgian gates, fences of iron taller than a man, wooden stakes tilted out to sea, many of them capped with mines. You pull yourself from one to the next, using them for the only cover on this beach, knowing each one might be the one that kills you. A corpsman drags a wounded man past you by the collar, red spreading through the seawater, and is gone into the smoke. The tide is at your back, And when your knees finally find the sand and you crawl up out of the water and collapse, you think the worst is behind you. It isn't. And that is the reversal that catches nearly everyone. Because the beach is not a refuge. It is a killing ground. They measured out in advance. Every obstacle, every yard of open shingle has been pre-ranged by mortars and artillery zeroed in weeks ago. And the tide that was at your back is coming in, fast, on this shallow shore. A stride of ground swallowed every few minutes, and behind you at the waterline lie the wounded who can't move. Men who survived the boat, the water, the wire, only to feel the sea climb over them because no one can reach them through the fire. You cannot go back for them. You can barely move forward, and the water keeps rising. Where's the armor? It was supposed to lead you in. Special swimming tanks, Shermans fitted with canvas skirts so they could float ashore, meant to be sitting on this beach when you arrived, their guns tearing open the strong points. But the sea this morning is too rough for canvas and prayer. Out in the neighboring sectors, dozens of them launched too far out and sank almost at once, carrying their crews to the bottom. On your stretch, the tanks are late, scattered, and being killed one by German anti-tank guns as they land. When you needed steel in front of you, there was none. You hit this sand with your body and your rifle and nothing else, so you do the only thing left. You crawl. You crawl up the killing slope toward the one piece of ground that offers a hand's breadth of cover, the shingle, a low bank of smooth stones, piled where the sand meets the seawall. And there you stop, because everyone stops here. The whole first wave that's still breathing is pressed into this thin line of rock, shoulder to shoulder with strangers, units shattered and mixed together, officers down, sergeants down, the chain of command simply gone. Company A of the 116th, the Bedford Boys, has been all but erased in the opening minutes. The men around you are soaked, bleeding, deafened, and frozen. Not by cold, by the certainty that the moment you lift your head to move, the buzzsaw finds you. A few feet away, a corpseman works on his knees over a man who won't stop calling for his mother, pressing a field dressing down hard, shouting for him to look at him, stay with him. You watch a set of dog tags get tucked into a dead man's mouth so the graves teams can find him later. You look away. There is nowhere to look that is any better. And this is the trap. Staying here feels like survival. It is the opposite. The tide is coming to take the shingle. The mortars already have it ranged. Stay, and you die slowly at the waterline with the rest. The beach has been engineered so that the safest feeling thing you can do is the thing that gets you killed, which means someone has to do the impossible. Someone has to stand up. It starts small. A ragged group at the seawall shoves a Bangalore torpedo beneath the belt of barbed wire ahead, a long pipe packed with explosive, and blows a gap, smoke, a hole in the wire, and through it, in ones and twos, men begin to crawl. Not a charge, not a wave of heroes, a handful of exhausted men deciding that forward is the only direction that isn't death. Officers and sergeants moving along the line, hauling men up by their harness, getting them off the sand by sheer will. The word that passes man to man is brutal and simple. The only ones who are going to stay on this beach are the men who are already dead and the men about to be. To live, you move. So you move. You get up. You go through the gap in the wire. You climb, off the flat, up the draw, up the face of the bluff itself, into the smoke, toward the very guns that have been killing you. It is slow. It costs. But foot by foot, small groups of soaked, furious, terrified men begin to work their way up the high ground the Germans believed no one could ever reach. And the balance of this whole morning, which for one gray hour tipped on the edge of total, catastrophic failure, begins barely to turn. By the end of this day, Omaha will be yours. It will be bought at a price that earns it a name, whispered up and down the line for the rest of the war. Bloody Omaha. More than 2,000 American casualties on this single stretch of sand, the worst of all 5 beaches by far. Some of them fell to bullets on the shingle. A great many never made it out of the water at all. You lived. Most of the men who stood in the front of those boats did not. And so you carry them now, up off the beach and inland, past the bodies of men you crossed an ocean with, men from Bedford and 100 towns like it, who are still down there at the waterline where the tide found them. You will not speak of this, not really, for the rest of your life. You will not have the words, but you will remember the weight of the pack that nearly drowned you, and the weight of the ones you left behind. They were not conquerors. They were mostly boys, farm boys, factory boys, some of them not old enough to buy a drink back home, who were seasick and terrified and walked down a steel ramp into the worst morning of the century anyway, so that the men behind them could reach the top of that bluff. This is the ground they bought, every yard of it, a life. Rest easy. You made the sand, you made the top, and you carried them the whole way. Next, you close your eyes in a snow-filled foxhole in a frozen forest called the Ardennes, where the enemy you will come to fear most doesn't carry a rifle. It's the cold, and it's already inside your boots.